Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Marie. I'm a junior at Mississippi State, and I just took Spanish 1 last semester with Chris, and so this is my second semester with it. Um, I know my makeup's a little crazy. I teach Sunday school on Sunday mornings, so I like to be a little creative for my kids. Nonetheless, so I wrote down the questions and I've been trying to do a lot of thinking about it. So it says, how are languages and cultures connected? Okay, well, think of it this way. So, Spanish, for instance, Mexico is not the only place you hear Spanish. You hear it in Spain, you hear it in Puerto Rico, you hear it in Cuba, you hear all these different places. And even though they all speak Spanish, they're all different. They all have different cultures and the way of life of doing things. So one thing you say in Mexico may be a complete different thing um in Spain. Same thing can go for, I mean, I guess you could say English. Even in the United States, it doesn't even have to be a different, country. The United States, is broke up. There's South, the North, South, East, West, Midwest, Southeast, North, Midwest. I mean, all those things. And here in the South, we may, um, say y'all because that's part of our culture. We drop a lot of syllables and stuff. And I think it kind of ties into not necessarily culture, but dialect and just how we perceive different words and stuff. Like, up north, they don't believe in, dropping things and all that. And like one thing down here might mean something totally different in California. I know I've come across that with, I'm born and raised down here in Clark County, Mississippi, so I'm as country as they come. And my sister in law, although she was born here, she is married and lives in Fresno, California. And it's an entirely different thing. I mean, it was a complete culture shock for her. Um, People speak differently. They don't ask the same questions. If they do, it's asked completely different than they would here. And she had a lot of misunderstandings because she didn't get to know their culture and how they do over there. And believe it or not, different states do have different cultures. That's just all there is to it. Um, what can one tell us about the other? It goes right back to what I just answered before. Um, like here in and like English, for instance, is completely different. Like here in English, for instance, you say toilet. You go to England where they also speak English, but it's a different culture. It's called the loo, or something to that right now. Hold on, baby. I'm doing something for school, okay? I'll be right back. Close the door, please. That's another thing you will learn about me if you ever see me in any of these videos. I have 2 children. One is 5, one is 8. They both have ADHD, and sometimes it's hard to get them to kind of go. So please excuse me, I am a mother. Does the language we speak affect how we perceive the world around us? That is a hard question. To me, I've been thinking over these questions and talking it over with my husband and stuff. I guess in a way it could, and that just goes back to the different dialects for the different places. And I'm still learning about different places with Spanish and French, and well, that's one thing right there. French. My husband is Cajun, and so he speaks Cajun French, which is a variation of French, France. And so things that they say and do don't always line up with France French. So they would see things a lot differently, I guess you could say. and I hope I'm making sense because I'm trying to spitball here. How does understanding and commitment to these cultures fit into your journey, if at all? Okay, so how it fits into me being through Spanish 1 already, and also I've done sign language 1 and 2, so that's a complete different culture in itself. There's different hand gestures for one, things that we do that we don't think anything about that may be offensive to someone in the deaf culture. Or the way we word something, or something like that, it completely throws them off. And something we could think is completely harmless in the deaf culture would be completely offensive or inappropriate to say. So I would say an understanding, going back to the cultures, languages and the cultures connected, I'd say yes and no. About learning a culture of a language, because there are so many different variations of the language, dialects of the language. It's hard to pinpoint learning all the cultures. It's just illogical to do so. And I hate to say that because like I said, there's so many variations of just English alone. There's different variations of Spanish and French and German. And it's just, you can't do it. It's just impossible to sit down and learn the different cultures of everything. Now, I will preface that, I will follow up with that. I'm sorry, my son is crying. Him and his sister got in a little fight. Please excuse it. He's okay. But anyway, so say I'm going to Mexico City. I would learn up on some of their cultures and practices and things that they say and do, not to offend anyone. So I would say learning the culture of where you're going and who you will be speaking to is kind of like knowing your audience. If I make any sense at all. So it's kind of a yes and no thing. I'd say yes if you're going to somewhere that speaks a certain language, learn that culture a little bit. It's not because you don't want to offend anyone, you don't want to say the wrong thing, and all that. But to say to learn the culture of a language, of the people who speak it as an entire whole, is just, it's not, it can't happen. It's illogical because there's just so many different cultures and variations that speak one particular language or the other. And just like in Spanish, for instance, something in Mexico City, for instance, you may say, hello, my name is Lisa Marie, and you go to Spain and you say the exact same phrase, hello, my name is Lisa Marie, and it may mean something entirely different. Now, I'll have to research that, but so I would say, yes, learn the culture of the place you're going. But there's no way to learn the culture of an entire language because there's so many different variations. I hope that makes sense. Y'all have an amazing day. I'm so sorry about my babies making noises, but that's mom life. I look forward to a great semester, and y'all take care. Bye.